Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Jessie and this is the Knit Up and Dye podcast, episode 91, What Means Most. As always, I'm going to start out with my list of thank yous. Special thanks go out, of course, to all of my subscribers, both new and ongoing. I love you guys, and what you see here is all about you. I'm always looking to hear from you about what you'd like to have discussed, demonstrated, shown off. I'm here for you. Let me know what you'd like. Hello goes out to Sam and Corey H. Thank you for adding me to your lives. Special love and thanks go out to Diane, Allison, Barbara, Faye, Julie, Janelle, Jenny, Erica, Adriana, Wayne, Sonia, Patricia, Lisa Lette, Cappy, Kath, Benty, Christy, Neetsy, Charlotte, Chris, Roseanne, Linda, Marie, Eve, David, Donna, Betty Ann, Scott and John, Kate, Janet, and Terry at Unwound, Monica, yes you Monica, Bex, Carolyn, Nancy, and Rachel. Much love goes out to my Zoom family, Robert, Roz, Paula, Brian, Jen, Elizabeth, Nicole M, Nicole B, Katie, Shirley, Tracy, and Georgianne. And a warm hello goes out to all of my patrons. Thank you. You honor me and you make this possible. So, knitting progress. We're going to jump right into knitting. I have a number of projects that have been camping. One such project is the Daelyn sweater, and I have been working on that, Let's set this aside and reach. Oh goodness. I have been working on that in a purple acrylic yarn. This is Vanna's Choice yarn, and it's been sitting for a really long time. It has some gauge issues because Vanna's Choice is not a classic worsted weight, and it also has some issues because for my body type I need a deeper armhole, and so I was going to have to knit a couple extra rows. I stopped, and I'm not entirely sure why. I don't know if I'm liking the fabric on this. It's a little bit dense. I probably could have gone up another needle size. I need to revisit it. So from the camping pile, this is going to come out and get analyzed this week, and some decisions are going to be made as to whether or not I'm going to continue with this or I'm going to rip it back. Ultimately, this sweater is meant to be a home sweater, something that I wear every day after work, just pull on, and it can just fulfill the need of keeping me warm. And we are now at the end of December, and I have not finished this, so I'm feeling a little bit of self-abuse on this, that I had wanted to do this and I should have been able to crack this out really quickly, and I don't really know why I stopped. Maybe it was the lack of drape in the fabric, maybe it was my concern over armhole depth. I will be revisiting this to find that out and making either the easy decision of continuing and finishing it. The Daelyn sweater pattern is a beautiful, beautiful design. I really like it. Let me see if I can pull out the pattern here for you and give you some information. I'm pretty sure that this is a pay-to-play, so I'm not going to show off too much more than the image. But it's a really pretty pattern that has some garter detailing down the back, and it comes around the front here, creating a really pretty narrowing visually of the waistline. And it's drapey, it's warm, it's cuddly, it's a very lovely pattern. Pattern is by Isabell Kraemer. It is available on Ravelry, and I love the pattern. I just need to get knitting on this sweater. So sometimes you got to give yourself some tough love and stop avoiding things and choose to pull that out. Because it's been sitting so long, and because it's under the 50% mark, I want to check the rules on the Sweet Tea No Shade. They're having a knit along where they're finishing old projects, and this may qualify if I decide to finish it, and that would be really good for me. If there's something that I can participate in that has an end goal, I'm likely to work really hard to knock that out. Also, I had been feeling really pretty bad about not working on my How to Eat an Elephant blanket. It sits right on the side table next to the sofa where I sit and watch TV. And so I don't really have an excuse for not reaching over and grabbing it and putting another square on. Each square takes me between 45 minutes and an hour, depending on how much time I spend looking up at the TV. And it's beautiful. I love this sweater. Blanket. I regard this very much as an heirloom project. It's something that has taken me already years to do because I'm just working on it a little bit here and there. And it's something that when it's done is going to be just an absolutely beautiful masterpiece of work. And I had sat down and I knit a square on it and I snapped a picture and I went and I put it up on Ravelry and saw the note above where I noted my square count was from Christmas of last year, and in that time I had only completed 16 squares. In almost a year's time I'd only completed 16 squares, and that really bothered me. That was only like a square and a half a month, and I realized that I really needed to get on this if I ever want it done. At that rate, I was going to be long past and this blanket would still be sitting around. And so I kind of bit into the project and did a bunch of squares this past week. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw me snapping pictures and posting my square count. And for the life of me, I don't remember what square number I'm on at the moment, but it is in the 180s range. And so let me show off the squares I got done. I worked on this square right here, and this one, 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 and one more way down here. I'm starting a fresh column right there. So I really, once I got going on it, I love this project so much. Once I got going on it and I just started to knit, it fell into place and I found my joy again. And I don't know why this gets set aside. I don't, because it's so much fun. I love it. If you're looking at this and you're saying, wow, that's really pretty and I'd really like to do that and I like the black frame around it, all of the information about how I'm knitting this, it's a formula, is on my project page on Ravelry. I'll have the link down below for you, but it's just a couple of rows of black and then you pick up whatever color you feel joy for and you work that in. Like I said, each square takes me between 45 minutes and an hour, perfect for sitting in front of TV. I can tell you that much of this was the Great British Baking Show. I love that show. I love that show. And knitting while I'm watching it is so good for me because it keeps my hands busy and keeps me focused on the show, and I don't go snack because that show will inspire you to eat some amazing things. Just watching it, I get hungry. So this is my How to Eat an Elephant blanket. It's progressing beautifully. I'm about 30% done, and someday this is going to be a great, big, wonderful, beautiful blanket. The 30% is kind of a rough marker. I randomly, when I first set out to do this, measured out blocks and figured out that I wanted ultimately to have like a king-size blanket. I know the bites I put in my mouth, I always bite off more than I can chew. But really, if I'm 30% done, that's not unachievable. I can do this. And what an amazing piece it'll be. What a huge and wonderful, beautiful piece it would be for our bed forever. So, and yes, I don't weave in as I go. So at some point there needs to be a great weaving in, and I'm kind of tempted. It really depends on what happens with the sweater. My husband and I are going to be taking a road trip coming up soon, and I'm kind of tempted to take this with me. I don't generally like to have this leave the house with me because it is so big. It comes with its great big bin of of yarns, and that's a lot for a road trip. You know, you got luggage already, and the dog is going to be in the car. But I might be able to edit and I know, this is insane. I might be able to be a little bit realistic about it and pack the black and pack 5 hours of knitting, 5 little colors, and plan on having a maximum of 5 squares that I can get done, and pack my darning needle and maybe get some of this done, because really this thing has got a lot of ends that I really need to work on. There is a large section that has been woven in. It's not that bad, you can't tell. I'm a little bit concerned about how I'm going to be finishing this off. I haven't really decided. It's wool. It will last forever. But the wrong side is definitively a wrong side. And I sort of feel like I want to have something, a backer for this, like a quilt. And I'm not quite sure what to do or what I want to do with that. Just over the years of carrying it around, there's some wear and tear that happens to this. There's some fuzzy edges here. And like I said, this is something that I will have for the rest of my life. I may be knitting it for the rest of my life, but I'm going to have it for the rest of my life. And I want to preserve it as much as possible so that it lives past me. And I think that it probably needs a backer. I could readily make this a tie quilt. It would be very easy to tie through from the front side in the black area through to a backing. And that might work out very nice, but I'm not sure what kind of fabric or backing to use. And certainly I don't want it to be too thick. I want it to own the drape of the knitting. And the idea of knitting a single piece for the back of this king size kind of terrifies me. So I would love to hear from you guys. If any of you have ever knit a blanket and opted to do some kind of a backing on it, I would love to hear what you think. And if you are a quilter and you have feedback or anything that you can contribute, I'd love to hear from you, really. I have years to go yet before I really need to worry about it. I have like 390 squares to go. At 16 squares a year, not so good. If I apply myself, it's within 2 years easily. So I want to be planning, I want to be dreaming, I want to be thinking about it. The more I can see the end goal, the more I am preparing for the next step, the more focused I am and the more it means to me and the more I get things done. That's what we're going to call it. Very much like the sweater, I know if it's working and I decide that I want to do that, the rest of the body of that and the sleeves are just going to fly onto the needles and it won't be a problem. It's about trying to figure out why I stopped and what the holdup was, what my concern was. So there it is. I'm sure you all do this. You have projects that linger for a little bit while you sort yourself out or figure out what you want to do next or what's holding you back. And that's where I am. That's where I am. So this means the world to me. I love this blanket. I'm very excited to be working on it again, and I'm excited to see the direction that it continues to go in. I love every last one of these squares. Every one of these yarns is a yarn that I was given or purchased that has been in a project, and it just makes me so happy. Love this project. So that's my How to Eat an Elephant blanket. Like I said, if you're looking at the black frame squares and you want to know how I'm doing that versus just doing a mitered square blanket, this one is a attach as you go versus making a bunch of little squares and sewing them together. I am not that person. I cannot sew little bits together. I can just modular add another piece on and go from there. That's easy. But my entire formula, exactly how I'm doing this, is all up on my Ravelry page, and the link is below. So, I dropped my cheat sheet. My black cowl. I was going to demonstrate blocking it and have opted not to. Why? I'm not showing how I blocked it because I didn't block it the way I wanted to block it, and I didn't have the tools that I wanted to demonstrate available to me at the time. So I've just blocked it, and I'm actually waiting for it to dry now so that I can start wearing it. I love it. I can't wait to wear it. I'm going to tell you how I would have blocked it so that you know what's going on. With a cowl, you're blocking flat, but it's a piece in the round. And so when you block flat and you're pinning it down to dimensions, one of the things that can happen is you end up with creases on either end because it's wet and you allow it to dry and it's setting stitches and it's setting the fold as well. So a really great trick that I found that works beautifully, absolutely beautiful, is pool noodles. Yeah, foam noodles. If you are looking for a nice way to avoid creases in your hats, in your cowls, even in a sweater, pool noodles are the answer. They cut easily with scissors. They're very affordable. You can tape them into positions on a blocking board. You can pin them onto positions on a blocking board, and you can pin to them. So with a cowl, you would take a pool noodle, you would cut it, say, in half, or you could cut it actually in lengths, a couple inches longer than the height of your cowl, and insert it in either end. Pin it out to the distance that you want for the circumference, pin the cowl to it, and it dries beautifully. It's already designed to be mold and mildew resistant because it hangs out in wet places. Just a great, easy way to do it. And if you're looking for something to keep the stretch, if you're not pinning it to an actual blocking board, you can be very clever with cutting of your pool noodle, and you can get two uprights that your cowl sits down over, and then you can take the leftover bits and use it as a distance bar between the middle of them so that you end up with a great big capital I of pool noodles that your cowl goes right down over the top of. You gotta be careful with that because then you end up with a different middle section for every cowl and project that you knit, but it's a great way to stretch them out and get them perfect. Also with hats, take a bunch of lengths and put them in a round and tape them all together, and boom, you've got a nice round head circumference thing that you can pull your hat right over and pin it to if you'd like to. So pool noodles are knitting tools. Yes. It's amazing the things that you can find that will work a double duty and will be a really creative and innovative way to handle a simple problem. Unfortunately, I was not able to get my hands on a pool noodle, and my last pool noodle, suddenly I can't even say it, met an untimely demise with a puppy, and so it was no longer of a fortitude capable of withstanding pinning. It was confetti, so it's not pool noodle season, therefore I was not able to replace. But these things, come the spring, we'll have pool noodles back in stock everywhere. I'll be able to go down to the dollar store and pick a couple up, and they'll be very useful. What else? Everything else is really kind of on hold. I am working on a project. I'm still working on my design project that is over on my Patreon page. I have not posted a blog post about that in it's been a couple weeks now, because there's action happening in the background that there's really not a whole lot to say about. I will post an update, I do promise you. It simply needs to get further along before I have something to post. Test knitting. Oh yes. So thank you to the test knitters that came forward. If you are just now hearing about it, there is still time. I have out to my test knitters right now the Barn Dance pattern. That is the 3-color version of the farmhouse shawl. And thank you guys so much for volunteering to test knit this. Certainly, I'm always willing to take on another test knitter or two, so if you're looking at it and you're going, hey, wait, I'd like to test knit that, reach out, contact me, we'll set you up. The due date, and I hate to say that because I'm really very, very flexible about when you get your test knit done. It can be done years after the release of the pattern, and it's still valuable to me because you still may find something that needs an edit. So the due date is February 2nd. We're looking at 2 full months here before this really needs to be done. And that's flexible. I may push that out even further. But this pattern has gone out to my testers, and I'm very excited to hear back from them about how that's going, and looking to see their work, because some of them have chosen some really, really beautiful yarn combinations, and I'm excited to see how it knits up in things other than strict solids or tonals like I have. I keep dropping my sheet. That's not useful. So test knitting is out, and I have dyed up for the beginning of January Patreon drawing, the exclusive color of the month, and I have that here for you to show off a little bit. This next month is going to be Forbidden Forest. Isn't that beautiful? It's a deep, deep green with blues and navies in it. Just like walking through a dark pine forest where the light is barely filtering through the tops of the trees. I love this colorway. I'm very excited to get this out to you guys. And it is just because it's a special time of year on a stellina base. If you're getting the 100 gram, there is stellina in that this time. Isn't that pretty? It just makes me think of ice on pine trees, clinging to the needles. I think that is so pretty. I think this would make a beautiful shawl. Certainly fun socks. If you are interested in becoming a Patreon and getting access to this exclusive colorway, please check out my Patreon page. So, this week's episode I called What Means Most. It's that time of year where we look at things a little bit differently. It's Christmas, it's New Year's, and we look at the things that mean the most to us, our families, our friends. As we go into the new year, we start to look at the things that we want to improve, we want to make better, we want to do differently this year. And I have a very special to me cause that I want to share with you guys. I have a friend, my very dear friend Terry. I met Terry through the Unwound Yarn Shop, and from the very minute that I laid eyes on her, I loved her. She is just wonderful and a very, very generous soul. This past year, she decided to combine her love of bicycling and her love of books, and she registered and became a little free library. And her husband built on a trailer for her bike a bookshelf of sorts that opens all up. And she rides her bicycle around to the farmer's market and to the parks and to the school and everything. All summer long she did this. And she handed out books to anybody who wanted one. Free, here you go. Don't have to bring it back, it's your book now. And that just brings me so much joy. I am all about books. I always have been all about books. I was very fortunate that my parents instilled a love of reading in me at a very, very early age. And it's something that I very actively tried to do with my son. I actually clearly remember having a little bit of a tiff with my mother-in-law when Sammy was just a little toddler, and he had kind of gotten over to a bookshelf in the kitchen that I had some cookbooks on, and it was one of these corner units where the bottom shelf was all the way down at the floor level, and he had been crawling around. He grabbed some books off the bottom, and he was being a little bit destructive with the books, but she scolded him and took the books away from him. And I was like, no, don't do that. She's like, why? He's destroying your cookbooks. I'm like, I wouldn't have put them on the bottom of the shelf if I were concerned about them getting damaged. They're books that I don't use. They're books there for reference if I decide, and otherwise they're lending stability to the bookshelf. And if my son is playing with a book, let him play with the book. Don't ever scold a child for touching a book. I teach reverence of the printed material and encourage play of books, even if you're just stacking them up. Touch is very important. Touch is a bonding thing, and let kids play with books. Let them enjoy seeing the words. They'll get curious. They'll want to know what that means. Let them look at pictures. They're going to enjoy colors. And so I I've always tried to instill the love of reading in my son and in the people around me. I talk about books very often, and I read books all the time. I have one on my kitchen table that I read at breakfast. I have an audio book that I read in the car, that I have going even at work if it's slow times. Often at lunch I'm listening to a book. I have a book at my bedside table. I read every night. I always have books kicking around. Sometimes I'm reading 3 or 4 concurrently. They are houses that I step into. They are villages far away. They are families that I get to be a part of. They are this wide and wonderful imaginary world that lends me new information and new knowledge and new experiences that otherwise I wouldn't experience. And so I'm very passionate about books. If you haven't caught on yet, I'm passionate about books. So when I found out that Terry was doing this, that she was a little free library and that she was traveling around and that she was giving books to people, my heart sang. That gave me so much joy. And I wanted to do fundraisers and get her more books and everything. Books were not her problem. People were depositing books on her doorstep for her. She got tons of donations. She continues to get tons of donations of books. What became her issue was her bike and her book trailer. And there were a couple tip-overs this past year. Unfortunately, she was the only one that suffered any injury. Nobody else got hurt. But still, Terry doesn't need to get hurt for going out and distributing books to kids and families. So she found a really great company that created basically a book bike, and it's a tricycle, and it has a wonderful, I'll have links down below for you. It has this wonderful bookshelf that opens up on it, and it's much more stable, and it's nice and narrow, and she can get it into buildings and such, so that she could actually visit schools and hospitals as well. Yeah. And it would be stable, and it wouldn't be tipping over, she wouldn't get hurt, and there'd be even less opportunity for anybody else to get hurt. These things cost money, and she is a little free library. There is not income going to her for this service that she does. So she started a fundraiser to be able to afford this tricycle, to get this bike, so that she can better do what she loves. In her honor, to help raise funds for this, I have created a colorway specifically named after her business, her little free library, Paperback Rider. This is the Paperback Rider colorway. In her words, the oranges can't miss me in traffic. And the white section is whites and grays and blacks, just like text on the printed page. I am dyeing this up on my Tap Monkey base. This is my 75-25 Superwash Merino and Nylon. It's 100 grams. It's 463 yards. This is great soft yarn, and in this colorway, it's going to make some really fun socks. It may make a really wild sweater. It may make a beautiful shawl wrap. It will blend beautifully in your fades. We're talking about gray, black, white, and a bright orange. I am donating 50% of the proceeds for every skein of this I sell directly to Terry for her fundraiser. I am also offering, in very limited quantity, some project kits. It's a bag, a simple zip top bag. It is 10 by 11 in size. It has like a faux leather top here, a striped canvas here. Inside here you're going to find a skein of Paperback Rider. You're going to find a snack mat, generously donated by Harbor House Baskets. It's a 2-sided mini placemat, just big enough for your mug of coffee and a cookie on the side to have with you at your side table while you're knitting, so you don't get hungry while you're knitting. Very important. There's a coupon code in here for a free pattern from your choice of my entire collection. There is a pack of little emery boards. These are brilliant. I love these. There's 12 of them in here, and they are just little mini emery boards that you can spread through all of your project bags so you never have a problem with your fingernails while you're knitting. There's going to be tea in here. There's going to be pins in here. There's going to be a magnet in here. Lots of little goodies. Again, 50% of the proceeds of anything that I sell in my shop under the Paperback Rider fundraiser is going to help Terry. If you decide that you would like to donate simply without a product purchase, the link is going to be down below. This is getting books in the hands of kids for free. Kids that are otherwise hanging out unsupervised, getting into trouble, that could be reading and learning about Dr. Seuss, or learning about distant lands, or learning about how medicine makes a difference in somebody's life. And it may change their lives. I believe very, very strongly in this cause, as you can tell. And I would love it if this also touches you, if you would either reach out to me and purchase one of the products, or reach out to Terry and donate directly. That's by Soapbox. This is something that means a lot to me. And if you're looking for some place to put funds this year that are going to make an honest, real impact, and not go to attorney's fees, and not go to seemingly endless research, or go to, I dare say, corrupt people, this is a great cause, and this is a cause that has big impact and big meaning. That's my soapbox. That's my do good this year kind of thing. This will be going on until she gets the funds. Our goal is to get her the funds by March. It does have a lead time on ordering these bikes, and she ultimately would love to have her bike by May so that she can get out there as soon as the weather is good and start distributing books again. What else is going on? I think that's about it. Next week's episode is likely to be kind of brief. It will be, of course, the Christmas weekend, and I have all kinds of things, duties and visits and parties and stuff that I need to attend to, so I'm not going to have a lot of time, but absolutely there will be an episode for you guys then. That's everything I have. I will be looking forward to seeing you guys next week, and thank you so much for all of your love, all of your support, all of your messages throughout this entire year. You guys have just filled my heart. Have a great week. Bye.